Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. I'm asking you a big question and I want an honest answer. Are you Gollum? Is your smartphone your ring of power? Is it turning you bald? Is it withering you? Is it sending you skittering into the shadows and isolating yourself away from your creativity? I know it has done for me. I'm not quite bald yet, but it is putting me on that path if I'm not careful. If I can't keep grabbing that thing in my pocket, scratching at the top of my thigh, desperate to pull it out and distract me from the world around me, then what does that mean for my creativity? That's what we're going to get into today. This is the Creative Condition. How are you doing, guys? My name is Ben Talon. This is the Creative Condition podcast. I am your host. As ever, I am founder of the Creative Condition. I am a champion of creativity. I'm here to help you with yours. I am a coach, an illustrator, an artist, and a writer, and I've been doing a combination of all those things for the past 18 years, and I'd love to share that experience, including the many, many guests I've had on this show as we now approach, well, on paper, episode 300, but it's closer to 400 when you tally up all the side episodes, the double episodes, the autonomous episodes, the diary that I don't classify as official numbers. We are getting on for 400 over a decade. This is the 10th year. In fact, no, this is the 11th year of the Creative Condition podcast. So if you're a long-term listener, I love the fact that you're still here. If you're a semi-recent listener, cheers. Loyalty is awesome. I love it. People who go and take the time to leave a little review or a subscription, please do that if you haven't done yet. Hint, hint. It helps the show a lot with trust. And more importantly, you can just tell a friend. Word of mouth is essential with podcasts, so thank you for doing that. And I'd also like to thank the founding sponsor of the show, Illustration X, who helped me get this thing off the ground. I've said it many times, but it was Harry Lyon-Smith, the founder of the agency, who suggested that I might be good at podcasting. Turns out we listen to about 20-odd episodes a week each. 20-odd podcasts a week each. And so the idea seemed, pretty simple. Here I am talking about creativity. Harry says, why don't you put a microphone down and have conversations with people? Turn it into a podcast. We'll sponsor it. And they're still here in this 11th year. You can't ask for more trust than that. So thank you to those guys. Check out their global range of illustration and animation portfolios now at illustrationx.com. I'd also give a quick shout out to the Ukrainian Institute. I keep talking about these guys, but I cannot stress the importance of supporting them enough. And by supporting them, all you have to do is head to ui.org.ua and take a look at the brave and bold creative work of the Ukrainian creative community, who continue to design and make art and create culture during this horrific time of war. I mean, the bravery there is scintillating. Go back and listen to the episode with Olya Protasova. I think that was episode 212, where we talked about creativity in the time of war. I mean, it's deep, it's moving stuff, and it's incredibly inspiring. So do that now. Check them out, ui.org.ua. Did you listen to Kevin Murphy, by the way? If you didn't, check him out in the last episode. Fantastic. Is talent a lie? Kevin's story is, it's brilliant. He taught himself over a year to become a master illustrator. I'm talking from next to no artistic ability to teaching himself incrementally, strategically, to draft like a pro, going on to work for so many global clients, including the Rolling Stones, before finding Evolve Artist. It's a great, great story, and we explore the idea of talent being a lie, as in you can train for anything you want. It's just that some people are more predisposed to artistry than others. They might get there quicker, but with Kevin's program, there's so many results to prove that you can teach practically anyone coming from a standing start. It's really interesting. Go and check it out. Loads more cool episodes coming up. But today I'm going to talk about Gollum. I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings because I was obsessed with it back in the day when the films came out, which is scarily long ago now, 25 years since the Fellowship of the Ring came out at the time of recording. And I noticed a parallel. I've revisited the books recently in the form of audiobooks read by Andy Serkis, which is a lovely escape after a stressful, busy day working freelance. And when Gollum was being described early in the book and what the ring had done to him, I couldn't help but notice that everyone out there is something of a Gollum, walking around any idle moment, grabbing at the phone in their pocket, pulling it out, checking it, going online, refreshing an email, refreshing a social media post, checking for engagement, and just looking out of habit. You know, I saw this girl on the train back from London, and I found it quite upsetting. She got on, young lass, about, 19, maybe younger, gets on the train. I'm coming back to Salisbury from London, and she gets her phone out before her ass has hit the seat, and she's immediately on TikTok. Now, I don't use TikTok. I had a brief little soiree on there, but I don't like it. I find it overwhelming, the format. It's too much. It's constant, and I don't really understand it. And I mean, okay, maybe I'm being an old man about that, but that's just my kind of feeling about social media these days. I'm going back to analog as much as I can, and sending out handwritten notes as part of my promotion. I've got printed books. I'm trying to arrange coffees and calls, and it just works for me because I'm quite a personable person and I love the interaction, so I'm trying to do that. But this girl gets on, and she opens her phone. So not opens her phone, she gets her phone out, and she just swipes on TikTok and swipes and swipes. And at most, she must have gone through about 25 videos in the first, 2 minutes, and didn't spend longer than 10 seconds on any of the videos. And I think, why? What are you doing? Like, you're rejecting each of these things. Is this just what your brain requires? Is this a dopamine overload addiction thing? I don't get it. Like, but then who am I to judge? Who am I to say? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that girl's life. So I'm not judging her, but my point is, if we're that consumed by immediate conscious brain activity and that sort of dopamine hit like that, we are invariably missing out on the joy of the world around us, the mundane things that trigger ideas, and even just the boredom of just sitting and looking out of a train window and allowing your brain to enter the default mode network, which is the state that we enter after, they say, about 15 minutes of idling, where we start to think deep and introspect and mull over things that are in our lives and get solutions to things. And it's really, really important to balance that with the executive way of thinking, which is the conscious driven, task oriented, in the moment, tick box, tick box, tick box. And I find this really worrying. As someone who's fighting for creativity, I find this really alarming because I see it with the dearest people in my life, the smartest people in my life. Everyone is so consumed by these devices habitually to the point of addiction that I think it's going to majorly fuck up our ability to think collectively, to come up with solutions for problems in the world, if we don't get a handle on what big tech has done to our attention and our mind. So I wrote this piece, which I'm going to read out to you today, about parallels with Lord of the Rings, because the older I get, the wiser the words of J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, just seem. I was in a car ride north recently, and I was listening to Gandalf in the story, and the man's sound bites and wisdom are just incredible. And these were helping me actually with anxiety and things like stressing about the climate crisis and potential doom scenarios that my anxious brain over these last couple of years has woven into such a terrifying tapestry of Armageddon that I was not sleeping at night. I said in a LinkedIn post recently when I was talking about anxiety that I'd have about 12 nights last night where I didn't sleep a single wink, and I haven't ever had that before. And it reached something of a fever pitch this late January, and I finally turned a major corner with all that, with meditation and gratitude writing and journaling. And it's been a real self-discovery journey / midlife crisis for me. I'm going to get into the midlife crisis thing for a dedicated episode soon with you guys, but there's just something about the wisdom of Lord of the Rings that speaks to so much. So I wanted to kind of write this piece around this idea of it. So I'm going to read it to you today. Let me know what you think. Before I get into it, there are still coaching opportunities this year if you want to work with me one-to-one. If you like what you hear on the show and you think I could help bring some guidance to your creative career, give me a shout. There are many ways to do it. There's a 90-minute session. There's a pit stop session, a big balls out deep dive session where we turn over everything in your life and we get you realigned and we get you set back on track. There's also a storytelling coaching module where I work with you to write your life story. Works especially well for founders and creative directors and agency owners to just help you see your entire life written out in a very creatively engaging way that helps highlight your principles, your values, to give you a compass moving forward, to stop you from bouncing from firefight to firefight. If that sounds good, get in touch. I'm running some pilots at the minute. I have a couple left at half price. Let me know. ben@bentalon.com. Right, let's get into this piece. It's called Am I Gollum? I Know You Are. The rings of power or smartphones. Is there any difference in their destructive presence? You can find me at bentalon.substack.com. I'm starting to put a bit more energy into there as well as my Creative Condition newsletter on LinkedIn. Say hello at either of those platforms. I'd love to chat. So here we go. A friend sent me one of those carousel posts on social media. It was around 10 slides and warned that human perception of time has shifted since the advent of the internet. Time feels like it's speeding up because our brains are so consumed by digital media and broader noise that we don't leave time for idling, reflection, or pondering. Furthermore, we're immersed in singular activities far less, which makes it hard to form memories properly. The timeless blur that stretches out, merging years as one, into a severely warped Junji Ito graphic novel plot. Whether you believe that in its entirety or not, it's an unsettling notion, isn't it? Something along these lines came up during the recording of a Creative Condition podcast with creative duo Abby and Owen Smith the other night. I found myself comparing the savage addiction to our devices to the life-sapping obsession with the ring suffered by the Lord of the Rings iconic weirdo Gollum. I began to chortle away, a laugh laced with sticky resignation. I felt silly for voicing this at first, but there's much wisdom to be taken from the worlds J.R.R. Tolkien built, and the more I thought about it after the call, the closer my observation felt to the mark. The gold band, inscribed with the black tongue of Mordor, might be absent from most pockets, but the equally insidious and malevolent lumps of plastics, wires, and glass present in ours today are many, and armed with the same power to fuck things up. Smeagol, once a river-dwelling elfish bloke happy talking to his cousin Deagol on fulfilling fishing day trips, fell into shadow, spending most of his time indoors, muttering curses about those he imagines are out to take what wasn't his to begin with. And through his snarling, skittering and seeking of scraps, he degenerates into the withered, by his own internal negative chatter, creature Gollum, inadvertently granting dangerous power to a band of utter bastards looking to tear up society for selfish dominion over all. This might not be the fate of all smartphone owners, but it sounds eerily pertinent for our current moment, doesn't it? Owen summed it up beautifully when he told me, it's the first time in human history we've all had access to each other, and it's a fucking mess. Digital nutrition is a term I picked up from Michael Phillips Moskowitz on episode X5 of the Creative Condition podcast, and now a core discussion point with my coaching clients. Treating technological consumption the same way as cigarettes and booze is important, something to wean ourselves off, or at least dramatically minimise as quickly as possible. I encourage creative industry professionals to employ my chat to your deathbed self tool to protect themselves from surrendering precious life moments to habitual scrolling. This is a thought exercise in which we must ask our near-the-end-of-life version whether the use of time we're about to commit would be signed off as a worthy use of precious lifetime. I do this because I've already handed over too much of mine and on weaker days, continue to do so. Billions go into making sure you keep leaking time and attention, and look what the purse holders are doing with it. Divided, distrustful societies never found the unity to challenge the greed of their overlords, the ones getting away with many kinds of murder while we're at war with each other. Will we follow suit? I didn't mean to get so heavy, but the sadness of the daily sight of teenagers and younger kids shambling around the streets, consumed with necks at 90 degrees, demanded a response. The nightmarish scrolling addiction robs us of space for immersion, of deep thought and brave conviction. It smashes up real community and pollutes tribes who, even when in beloved company, are off elsewhere, detached from their present reality. The next thing we know, the trees are having to storm Isengard themselves. Except, in our world, they can't. I believe there's a noticeable absence of bold art and design work, a lack of antagonistic, rebellious voices in the industry. I discussed this with Paradiso earlier in the week as they prepare plans to contribute something sustainable, accessible and pure to this fight. Behaviour designer Lauren Kelly spoke of the power of self-awareness and the importance of small steps when seeking to protect headspace, citing her own love of early Twitter as something she had to use behaviour design to neuter in the name of getting anything done. In this instance, placing the phone on either side of the room to temper the urge to look was enough for her. But this particularly well-engineered addiction and our awareness of the long-term impacts of online trappings has spiralled in the 7 years since. It feels like the great battle for our minds is about to ensue. I don't know if we've yet reached Helm's Deep, but I worry that if we don't remember how to direct our minds onto the sharpening of spears, nattering with wizards, and leaving that bloody ring inside our shirts, then we'll never get to strike creativity's crucial balance of action, pipeweed, and quiet again. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that one, guys. This means a lot to me, and I did a little mini campaign on the Creative Condition website, which you can see at thecreativecondition.com/throne. It's called Reclaim the Throne, and it's about resisting the big tech attention coup and recoronating our minds. And let me tell you, since I've really stripped back the time I'm spending on devices, it's really helped on the anxiety front. I mean, just that horrible pull I used to feel to go back to Instagram and post again and check things and, make sure I wasn't missing out on stories. And I never, apart from a handful of friends' posts, which were pretty cool, got anything out of it. Really, I mean, we are going to have something of a regret epidemic in years to come, I think, when people get into their later years and look back on what they've done with their lives and recognise memory gaps and, missing years where they can't really account for what they've done. And it's tragic because... So I had a day on Saturday with just the kids and the dog, so my wife was away for the night. And I was barely on that phone. My main uses for the phone were a couple of replies at scheduled times. Radio 5 Live, it's one of my little pleasures on a Saturday. I like to listen to the sports in the build-up to the football programme. But that was, a chosen engagement with culture. And then to reply to a few messages and call my brother in the evening. And that was it. Other than that, we went to the pub, me, the kids and the dog. We played Uno. We went to the play park. I played stick with the dog while the kids were playing on the rides. We went into town. We went to the market. Before my wife had gone, we went, all of us, into town. My wife took Martha to a dance lesson. I went for a kick around with my little lad, Frank. And it was amazing. And I felt so calm by the end of the day. And I felt calm for about 4 days now. And that's the longest stretch I've had in this whole period of about 2 to 3 years of anxiety. And that's saying something. And I want you guys to think about that, because as I coach people and I talk to people about their digital use, some are better than others, but all to some degree acknowledge that they spend too much time on there and they allow themselves to get into scrolling and to getting wound up by news articles and shared posts about, various kinds of doom porn. And it's not to say that these issues aren't pertinent and real, they really are. But for the longest time, they sent me into a borderline depression, like really fucking angry and dismayed, and in sets various states of despair, which eventually led to this kind of anxiety disorder that I've been suffering. But I'm going the other way now. I subscribe to Positive News print magazine. I go on their online articles. I curate my news so that I get what I need without sending myself into oblivion. And I contribute to my cause. And when I use my devices now, it is a considered use. And as far as Reclaim the Throne campaign, it's about recognising those moments of downtime where we just reach for our phone, default, sitting on a bus, a train, in a laundrette, in a supermarket queue, at the bus stop. All of these moments are precious moments to engage with the default mode network for deep thinking and creativity, or to put our minds to, a book, something better, a conversation, an engagement with the world around us. Think about it, guys. I want us all to pull back from this horrible state of inertia that we're in with tech and social media. Even when we feel like we're doing good by sharing, dark articles and the likes, I really think we are wasting our time. I think we have to get back to our work, directing our minds. So I hope this has been of some use. I would love to hear from you, Ben at bentalon.com. Drop us a note on social media if you prefer that way. Engage with me on LinkedIn. But really consider your use of social media, because I think it's a real pivotal point in human history for creativity. That's it from me. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com, for this week's support as ever. The Ukrainian Institute, ui.org.ua, to support an amazing organisation during a horrific time of war. And check out Paradiso. I'm doing some work and some cool stuff with these guys. I wrote Hector Ayuso, who was a founder of Off Festival and has now founded Paradiso, the other side of creativity. Doing some amazing work. Going to be launching in a whole new capacity in our creative industry soon, challenging the lack of bold thinking and bringing leadership back. It's going to be an exciting journey. So check those guys out. That's it from me for this week. Back with a guest episode next week. Love you all for listening. Thank you so much. Get in touch if you want to work with me on the coaching front. We'll do that. Otherwise, head to thecreativecondition.com for all the usual assets, the reading list, the podcast archive, the articles, you name it, it's there. And the diary, of course. Have an awesome week, guys. Take care. Speak soon.